All right, we're going to adjourn this work session and call the regular meeting to order. Roll call, Dana, please.
Here.
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 Here. Here. All right, thank you, Dana. I'd like to ask everybody to please stand for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Dave, do you mind leading us here this evening, please, sir?
Father, we thank you for everything you give us, and we thank you for allowing us to be here tonight. I ask that you bless each person that's here, and Father, bless the people that volunteer their time and serve on this planning commission, that you give them wisdom to make the decisions that are right for this community and for this county. Father, we thank you for the freedoms that we exercise here tonight, and all we have to do is watch the national news and local news to be aware of how easy it can be lost, how easy and how hard people fight to sustain and protect it, and we thank you for those people to do that. And we thank you for those freedoms that we exercise here tonight without fear of retaliation or death. And Father, we just thank you for being born in this country, in this state, in this county, in this city. And we ask that you bless us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, David. Kurt, do we have any city council report, please, sir?
Yes, sir. A couple of items of note from recent city council meetings. The city passed a resolution that establishes an agreement with Baldwin County to provide recycling pickup for residents in the city who choose to participate. That'll be at a weekly rate of a weekly collection at a rate of $10 per household if they want to participate. Also, we passed a resolution agreeing to a contract with the U.S. Department of Agriculture and Wildlife Services for removal of coyotes, beavers, muskrats, and nutria in the city due to deal with some nuisances that have been reported. And we also passed an ordinance to collect a 10-cent per milliliter consumable vape tax.
All right, thank you, Kurt. Mary, do you have anything you want to add?
The only thing I would add to that is remind everybody, if you're not aware of it, the Junior Council is sponsoring a movie night this coming Friday at 6 o'clock at the Container Park. And I don't have a clue what the movie is, but they'll have trick-or-treat and things like that going on with it.
All right, thank you. All right, we have some minutes to get approved here. August 25th special session, August 25th work session, and September 29th regular session. Do we have any errors or changes need to be noted? All right, minutes stand approved as written. All right, we have new business here this evening. This is agenda item 251001. This is an application for a zoning change, and we'll have a public hearing on this agenda item. If anybody here wishes to speak, Dana has a sign-in sheet. If you would go up there and print your name and address, and I'll call on you, come up to the podium and push the button there and state your name and address, and we'll be glad to hear from you. Since we have such a large crowd here this evening, we're going to limit the time that you have to 3 minutes. And if any of y'all, if you have the same comments as somebody previous, if you would just come up, state that you have the same comments so this doesn't drag on for hours and hours, okay? All right. Let's see, this is pre-zoning for annexation for a planned unit development. It's Longleaf, a planned residential development master plan. The location is White House Fork Road Extension at Alabama 225, and the applicant is Dewberry Engineers on behalf of Mag 7 LLC Long Pines, LLC. Casey, your staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, this applicant is requesting approval of an overall master plan of the proposed plan unit development for Longleaf Residential Development and the associated PUD or PUD narrative document in conjunction with annexation into the corporate limits of the city of Spanish Fort. The proposed PUD master plan includes a total of 1,015 total units or doorknobs over 702 individual lots that will cover approximately 1,654 acres along White House Fork Road Extension and State Highway AL 225. The projected scheduled development is at this time expected to take place over roughly 10 to 15 years with multiple phases. The proposed development is planned to be majority residential with a mixture of proposed densities / types of residential units, but also includes a professional 18-hole golf course with associated amenities and an animal sanctuary with associated uses/amenities. The residential portions, as they are currently proposed, intend to comply with the following existing zoning districts intend to comply with the following existing zoning districts, which they have laid out in their zoning overlay map that you see on the right side there. This would be R1 single-family low-density residential, R2 single-family medium-density residential, R3A single-family high-density residential, R3B single-family patio or garden home district, and R3D medium-density multifamily residential. The proposed net density over the entirety of the development is proposed to be less than 2.5 units per acre. The applicant has also provided a PUD narrative with the submittal to cover various aspects regarding development standards, property uses, material and construction types, etc., to govern development within the PUD area. And you all have a copy of the PUD narrative as attached and the revised plans that have been submitted. The existing conditions within the vicinity of the subject property are a mixture of low to medium density single-family residential uses, similar to the proposed development in rural agriculture. The addition of a subdivision development of this size will most likely have a sizable impact on the area and will require additional impact analysis, i.e. traffic impacts, utilities, etc., prior to approval of any subsequent plans for construction. The subject property is not identified in the comprehensive plan's future land use map as it is currently outside the corporate limits of the city of Spanish Fort. The applicant has provided a generalized drainage plan for the development and will provide more detailed calculations with each subsequent phase of construction in accordance with applicable rules and regulations. And as I mentioned in the work session, there's no deviations requested from the zoning ordinance. There are a few minor ones from the subdivision regulations, mainly having to do with road grade. Let's see. Private authorization of private streets, median spacing, pavement buildup, geometric design, pedestrian standards as far as sidewalks on both sides of the street. And deviations, I guess, from stormwater management standards. They intend to encourage nature-based solutions in innovative site design. They've also requested deviations from on the sanctuary side from the landscape and tree protection ordinance. Mainly it looks like regarding irrigation. And just as far as the public hearing goes, we did receive one written comment by email today. So when we get to that, you want to read that or?
All right, thank you, Casey. All right, we'll open it up for discussion.
When Casey was reading all the exceptions that they may be seeking to the subdivision regulations, those are things we will deal with later, is that right?
Right, we would address them as they come in with each phase,
Right,
correct, David?
tonight all we're doing is the annexation, right? Yeah, okay, and sanctuary, yeah.
Any other discussion? All right, discussion's closed. We'll have our public hearing. I'd like to make one more statement about the public hearing. This isn't going to be a question and answer type public hearing, so any questions that you do ask, we will address them after the public hearing's closed, or we'll try to address them for you, but it's not going to be a back and forth. You ask questions and then we answer them at that particular time. It's your time to come up and speak, and once the public hearing's closed, we'll try to answer all your questions. All right, public hearing's open. Dana?
It's up to the chairman.
David, do you want to go through this presentation again before we have the,
Well, I
Public
think
hearing?
it'd be helpful, as the mayor mentioned earlier, that,
there may be some people that wasn't here.
Right, to have
All right.
the,
You want to
developers
come up and give your
representative come
presentation, and we'll open a public hearing after. So that way, if any of y'all have showed up since the work session, you'll know exactly what's taken place.
Press the button. Good evening. I'm Kathy Barnett from Dewberry, and this is Wade Oney. He's the principal owner of the project. We're going to kind of tag team, try to keep it brief, but give you all the information as the background. So I'm going to actually, unlike we did in the work session, I'm going to let Wade kick off with how he started this project, and then I'll kind of take over with the B2 annexation and how we kind of started with the city. So.
Okay, great. This is, fun for me actually at the moment to actually address the group and give some information, because there's probably a lot of perceptions out there and beliefs that don't go with what the project is. So I am happy to share what reality is. Myself and some friends, bought this land in 2005. We've been the owners since 2005. So we've had this land for 20 years. Between 2006 and 2010, we built the roads for the initial phase and infrastructure roads, and started the building of the golf course, of which we got about 55% done. And then 2009 and 10 came along, and the economy kind of crashed and was a mess. And so at that point we stopped. We kept the three key team members, Reggie Hill being one of them, and he's raised his family there since 2007 through to about 2022. In 2022, as in 3 years ago, my wife and I, my wife back there, Beth Oney, part of her dream was a farm animal sanctuary. Part of my dream was doing a golf course and community. And so we've co-founded the animal sanctuary in the development as I said, bought this land 20 years ago and started working on it for quite a few years before we stopped. About 3 years ago, we felt it was the time to move ahead economy-wise, Spanish Fork growing as it has, Baldwin County, we felt it was time to finish. So we built our house and moved in close to 3 years ago. We started to build out the animal sanctuary and started doing structures there. We now have 25 animals on the animal sanctuary so far, 2 more coming next week. And then we also decided to finish the golf course that had been 55% completed back in 2010. About 3 years ago, we said it's time to go ahead and finish. And so we have taken 2 years to finish the golf course. The golf course is ready for play, although it's not fine-tuned yet. So we're still letting things grow in, doing final touches on it, and we expect to open to the public in the first quarter of 26. The piece that we have been talking about the most is the golf course lots and the structures around those, and that, although there's 1,015 doorknobs in the PUD, our concentration is more on this side right now, which is about 400 homes, and then also doing the sanctuary and building it out. So that's what we expect, and most of our work and effort will be in the next 10 to 15 years. The middle section is still hard to say what the market conditions are, when that gets built out, what the phases are, who knows how long that may take. But we'll be working mostly on the golf course side, and the sanctuary is what we are most in tune with. And the thing I would say is I end my little update for everyone that we're probably, I would tell you, most proud of is when we bought this land 20 years ago and we were moving on it in 2006 and 10 and investing a lot of dollars into things then, and then the market crashed. Many people don't survive that. We survived it. We kept the 3 key employees, kept them employed, kept taking care of the property, and we have completed the biggest amenities completed. The next amenity, which is the sanctuary, is well on its way, but we have completed that before even thinking about selling the first lot. We're committed, we've invested and we're looking forward to opening to the public in the first quarter of '26. So there's some basic information of what realities are to help everyone understand. So, Kathy?
Really, what the sanctuary is?
I probably should, Beth, darling, if you could just tell us a little bit what the sanctuary is.
It's a farmed animal sanctuary where we take in rescued animals that have
Since, hey Beth, since we are broadcasting this, they can't hear you online, and I hate to make you repeat, but yeah, it is live, so.
Okay, so it's a farm animal sanctuary. It's a rescue. My passion started 17 years ago to open a farmed animal sanctuary to provide education for people, cooking classes, wellness center, take in rescued animals. We have 25 currently. They are criminal cruelty cases. They are sanctuaries that can't sustain what it takes to run a sanctuary, so we rescue those animals. We have 2 horses, we have 7 cows, we have, let's see now, 6, 7, 8 steers and 10 pigs, and I'm leaving on Wednesday to get 2 calves from the dairy industry that are twins. I'm driving to Lexington. So that, in a nutshell, is what the farm animal sanctuary. Oh, these are some renderings that Rebecca at Watershed and I have been working on. The education pavilion, the wellness center, and then it's showing a rendering of my vision to have cooking classes. It's a teaching kitchen, bringing in chefs, teaching people how there's going to be a garden, a full garden, how to live off the land, how to grow your own food, how to cook plant-based, because I really am a activist for plant-based living and eating for optimum health.
All right, thank you. So all this will be going on at the sanctuary?
Yes, sir. 400 acres. So we do, the sanctuary is the 400-acre component. That's pretty exciting and new for our area. There's nothing like it in Baldwin County. Elizabeth and Rebecca Bryant is the designer for that. She is with Watershed. For any of you that don't know Rebecca, she's kind of known for her low impact working with nature-based design. That's her specialty. She just did the Center for Ecotourism down in Gulf Shores. And so the deviation for stormwater and the request for irrigation is because we'll be looking at the proper landscape plants, what makes sense. So it's not trying to do something to get away with something, it's trying to do something to actually use the resources and the property that we have. So that's Rebecca's specialty, and obviously you'll see that at a site plan approval, so you'll know what you're allowing and not allowing, and still have an additional ability to look at that. The western side of the golf course is, as we said, 246 single-family homes and 125 townhomes for the golf course portion of the property. We believe, and I wasn't able to fact-check it between the work session and here, but that Baldwin County in its original PUD approved close to 600 doorknobs for that original PUD. So we're significantly less than that at this point. And I was wrong, Wade corrected me. There's 79 platted lots already. I said 57, so there are 79 platted lots already. So, we're trying to, the R2 that we used as the underlying base zoning is because a lot of those lots were 90 feet when they were platted, so we kind of had to be conforming. But again, property acreage is 1,654 for the total parcel. We have 1,015 units. So, and 400 of those are the sanctuary. So
Question. Of the 79 platted lots, are they buildable right now?
Yes, sir,
If
they
somebody
are.
wanted to buy
That's where
them
the
or
road
try to-
ends.
They could actually start building
Yes,
right
sir.
now? Okay. Thank you.
If we had a legal permit. I mean, they're Baldwin County, they could build, but obviously we want to go into Spanish Fort, so they haven't been selling the lots right now to move in this process and have it all under single ownership, which allows taking annexation actions and rezoning actions a lot easier than 79 additional homeowners of this property. So,
Which we expect to, as we open the course in the first quarter, that's when we expect to start selling those lots.
and those are designed for custom homes, custom builders. So, let's see what else. On the eastern side, so the associated uses of the golf course are what you would expect with a golf course. Restaurant, I'm sure there'll be a bar, the pro shop, so there'll be some retail sales, training facilities, pickleball, pool, tennis possibly, that when we're not sure if tennis is off the course because so many people are at pickleball now. Some picnic areas, and it's all detailed with the expectation of where that is within the PUD narrative. The north corner with a little arrow leader is kind of the maintenance area to serve that. We've spelled that out in the PUD as well. Maintenance barn, that type of suitable uses that have to serve a golf course. And then the sanctuary is the northeast corner where you see the detail. And in your package, there are detailed plans. We just showed the renderings, but you do have renderings for the golf course as well as what you've seen with the sanctuary. The projected build is 10 to 15 years, maybe a little longer, concentrating on the western side because that's where the majority of the, resources and investment have already been, and the most excitement, with the sanctuary kind of starting at the same time if this is approved. So the sanctuary is ready to go once this could move forward. I think those are the primary high notes. I'll take notes and be happy to attempt to answer any questions that come from the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, just to follow up to make sure that everything was discussed at the work session is in this meeting as well. One of the things we discussed was that to make clear the zoning classifications that are depicted on the conceptual plan, those areas would be governed by the zoning regulations applicable to the city for those zoning classifications, lot size, setbacks, et cetera. Within each district, there are subdivision or lot layouts. Those lot layouts may change as subdivisions are submitted for preliminary and final subdivision plat approval. They'll have to meet the subdivision regulations that are in effect at that time. But they could not increase the density in any way without having an amendment to the PUD application. At this point in time, the purpose of this meeting is to do a pre-zoning. This property has not been annexed into the city. It is not subject to city zoning at this time. Something is going to be built on that site. They've obviously spent a lot of time, effort, and money and are ready to go forward. The question is whether or not the property will be annexed into the city of Spanish Fort and whether or not the city will have input into how that property is developed or if it'll just be developed in the county. At this point in time, it's owned by 2 or 3 owners. And so if the city does have an eye to annex in that area, which it has expressed that desire in the past, then this would be the time to annex it as opposed to waiting until 50 or 100 lots are sold and then you have issues with who all wants to come in and who doesn't at that point in time. So all the requirements of the underlying municipal ordinances will be applicable to this site as it's developed. In addition, there will be additional services that are provided to that site, including police and fire protection. At this point in time, calls are made, go to the sheriff's department. If it's annexed in the city, the police will provide police protection. It'll also be within the city for fire services. That can be accomplished in a number of ways. It'll be a number of years until the population grows enough out there to justify increasing police officers, those kind of things. It presently receives in that fire district service from the local volunteer fire department. We also provide, and that may be accomplished through mutual aid agreements for a period of time until the population grows as well. We likewise provide mutual aid to other fire districts around us, including the town of Loxley. And so that area has received services. It will continue to receive services as things grow, as the population grows, not only here, but in the Highlands and other places. The city will affect and address those as needed. And then so far as calls are concerned, especially on the weekends, when we know that in the nights late when the sheriff's department's numbers are down less, I'm not thinking that our response time would be any less than the sheriff's would be, depending on where they are in the county. It may actually be faster. And so those are kind of discussions as it relates to at least those two services. In addition, as we mentioned, that those roads have been built in there some time. The mayor requested and required that prior to this being filed for consideration, that inspections be made by city staff and engineers to determine if there were any deficiencies. There were some, but those have been corrected and approved, and through the Baldwin County Highway Department and the county, as I understand it, any future roads that are built would have to meet the standards of the city at the time that they're constructed.
All right, thank you, David. All right, do we have any other discussion before we open the public hearing? All right, discussion is closed. All right, at this time, we'll have our public hearing. William Jackson. Press the button and state your name and address, please, sir.
My name is William Jackson. I live at the corner of 39 and 40 in the White House Fork community. My address is 39607 County Road 39. I'm here just to represent one doorknob in White House Fork. I'm also a member of the Volunteer Fire Department. I'm a captain with the Volunteer Fire Department. We have some concerns with the annexation because we will be providing primary fire service for that as a volunteer fire department, as will Crossroads. We have mutual aid agreements together, but we're concerned with the number of houses that are there and the fact that both of us are 100% volunteer, and can we provide mitigation for fires if one was to happen. I know this is going to be a 10-year situation, but you never know what's going to happen. His house could catch on fire. So the other concern that I have is the west side of the creek is the golf course, and there's really, I'd love to play golf on that course. The east side of the creek is included in the White House Fork Landmark District. The creek is the delineation line for that White House Fork Landmark District. It was voted on by the members of the White House Fork community in Baldwin County in November of 2024, and one of the provisions of that is any annexation that would take place in that area must be voted on by the people in the landmark district. I reviewed the bill today. There is no provision for grandfathering any sort of build-outs in there. We did this whenever we saw that Spanish Fort was coming up from the south and Bay Minette was coming down from the north, and we were going to be caught in the middle. So we wanted some control over our destiny, and so we started the Landmark District. Shane Stringer was the sponsor of that, and we were able to get that passed through the House and the Senate and voted on by the people of Baldwin County, and we're proud that we were able to get that done. But what we would like is to, particularly on the east side of that river, is for us to have, or the creek, for us to have an opportunity to have the people of White House Fork know exactly what's going on. We found out about this because some of the people in the community started getting letters on Friday. So there may have been signs posted and that sort of thing, but we had no knowledge of this until Friday afternoon when my phone started ringing saying, "Hey, Mr. Bill, do you know anything about this?" And I did not. So I started doing a lot of research over the weekend, and then this is where we are today. I wanted to be here today to voice our concerns about the east side of the creek and how that development would take place and how it would impact. We also have concerns that the outlet from the subdivision right now is planned to be on County Road 40, which is a small county road that already has much more traffic on it than when I moved there 30 years ago. Also, the other outlets on Highway 225, we have numerous accidents that happen on Highway 225 in that particular area because of the way that the roads are listed. And we like to make sure that ALDOT has consideration in whether or not the Highway 225 can handle that much additional traffic. I know that in Spanish Fort, you guys are already having to widen the road from the bridge into town in order to put in some turn lanes and that sort of thing for some of the other subdivisions. And we'd like for you guys to consider the same thing if you're going to be putting this many houses that outlet onto Highway 225.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for your time.
All right. All right, Ashley Tuberville. Is it Tuberville or Turbville? Okay. I'm sorry.
Turbeville.
Okay.
Is it on? Again, it's Ashley Tuberville. I live at 12351 White Road, White House Fork. Hey, Mayor McMillan. I've been there 35 years. I am one of the Baldwin County residents that voted on the landmark district to keep annexation away. I know that Spanish Fork's encroaching on us from Bromley Road all the way up. I don't really know, haven't researched all the municipality borders, but I am totally against annexation. I am totally against the subdivision, but it looks like it's coming anyway, and there's not a lot we can do about that, but I would prefer it to be in the county. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Troy Brown.
My name is Troy Brown. I live at 9580 Brown Road, Bangmanette. And I just wanted to say I'm not, want to be annexed. And I live right on the borderline on the south end of that little square. And I'm borderline of them and me. And I don't want to be annexed at all. So that's just my opinion. And you can tell I'm not a good speaker, but anyway, I just wanted to voice my opinion on that. And basically what Bill Jackson said, or William Jackson, is I'll go along with also. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, excuse me if I get this wrong, but is it Andrea Brown?
I have a question, but kind of a statement too.
Excuse me, would you state your name and your address, please, first?
Andrea Brown, 9874 Brown Road, Bangmanette, Alabama. And I'm just wondering, at what point do they leave the rural lifestyle alone? I don't have an issue with Spanish Fort. I went to school there growing up, to Christian school, or any city. But the subdivision, in my opinion, is nothing to be proud of. There will be no country living there anymore. Many of these property owners grew up in White House Fort. Much of the land was passed down. Many people in this community own their homes. Much of its property has been passed down from generation to generation. I understand that one would want to utilize and benefit from any purchased investment. The investment, though, was made with intention of railroading a community that has no desire to be a part of their dream. And that's all.
All right, thank you. All right, I believe it's Roger Rowe.
I'm Roger Rowe. I live on 9703 White House Fork Road Extension. I'm against the annex for many reasons. I'd like to see an impact study done on environmental. I'd like to see a road study done on traffic. It is terrible down 40 and 225. You get an accident between Bromley and 225, you're there hours. It's a single lane road. They go into ditches. The deer and the wildlife is everywhere. We got water drainage issues like crazy. I got property I can't even use because it floods out so bad. Comes across the road, glazes it, people come around the bend, they almost slide into my property and hit my trees because the water is terrible. The ditches aren't even properly done. So before we even do any growth, I understand we have to grow, but we're in a county, and I moved to the county for a reason and got out of Daphne because of the riffraff and all the restrictions and everything that they put upon us. And then we're gonna go right back to it. I have, I don't know, 5, 6 acres that border that entire back section over there that I'm gonna have nothing but houses on. I'm in a county, I shoot guns, I enjoy it. I got 50 cows, I make noise. I don't got any complaints with the neighbors. We all love it out there, it's country living. we start bringing in all this other stuff just for greed and profit, we start losing that kind of lifestyle. I'm totally against it. We got to do environmental impact studies. We got to do road studies. We got to do, what about the school, the road down there? The people fly down that road for that elementary school. We're going to have all this extra traffic. I just think we need to pump the brakes a little bit and figure out what's going on. I'm not for the annex. That's all.
All right, thank you. All right, that's all I have signed up here. Does anybody else here wish to speak? Dana, do you have another sheet that they could sign up with? Okay. If you would go to Dana over there at the table and print your name and address, please.
My name is Sam Box, and I live at 38915 State Highway 225. And I guess what I was wondering is, will we be given an option to annex into the city? I guess it's not a yes or no thing, but
I'm sorry, ask that again?
I live directly across the street on 225.
Right.
And I was wondering if we'd be given an option to annex.
If any private property owner has the right to annex, as long as they're contiguous to the property, and being across the road, yes, you would be contiguous.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Christy Boynton, I believe.
Is it on? Okay, my name is Christy Boynton. I live at 10700 White House Fort Road Extension, directly across the highway from the animal sanctuary. I can't say that I'm totally opposed to the animal sanctuary because I have the same compassion for the animals. However, our little community is truly a heritage community. And I don't think that the people who own the property and who are making these plans have even considered the impact that it's going to have on our community. And as the young lady mentioned a while ago, some of these properties, like the one we live on, has been passed down from generation to generation. We enjoy our way of life. And so there is a lot of fear that comes with this letter saying you're going to be annexed into the city of Spanish Fort. We choose where we live for the most part, and we choose to live in a rural setting where we're not restricted. If we want to have cows, chickens, goats, whatever the case may be. The lady says about the cooking classes and things like that, you know, and how to live off the land. I appreciate that, and her plans are beautiful. But we do that every day. That is how we live our life. You can ride through the community at any point in time and see that we grow our own food. I can. I've got jars stacked to the rafters. I mean, I know how to do this, but to teach others, that is incredible, that people need to know how to do those kind of things, but not at the expense of taking that way of life away from the residents who have been there, again, for generations. So I think there needs to be some thought put into how this affects the residents, those of us that have lived there for a long, long time, because we didn't ask for this. I'm not opposed to the free market and people making money and all that, but don't force it on us. And one thing I haven't heard from anybody is, if you do annex us, and I hope you don't, no offense, but I hope you don't. I don't want to live in the city of Spanish Fort. I shop here, I dine here, I do just about all my business here, but I don't want to live in city limits. But what I have not heard is, if you annex us, what kind of restrictions are you going to put on our property, on what we can and can't do with our property, because we are now part of the city? And I would like for that to be addressed.
I understand. And
Thank you.
We normally don't address it.
All right, Jared Douglas, I believe it is, or Dagler?
Yeah, I'm Jared Douglas. I live at 9240 White House Fork Road Extension. I live right across the street from this development. And I'm actually annexed in the city of Spanish Fort, so I can answer any questions or tell you about my experiences. It's been garbage. It has. I voluntarily annexed in about 2016 or 2018 on I guess, the sole dream of getting into the school systems.
Excuse me, would you address the council, please?
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
not the-
I was voluntary annexed in 2016, me and the neighbor, and that's one thing I also has a confusion is, what is the difference between corporate and city limits? I was annexed into the city of Spanish Fort or corporate limits, whatever, back in 2016 or 2018. I'm the last house on White House Fork Road, me and the neighbor. The whole reason we annexed was on the promise or the dream of going to the Spanish Fort City School System. Not saying Baldwin County is any worse, but it was more convenient because it's closer. The high school and the middle school is 6 miles from our house compared to Baldwin County High School, which is all the way in the city of Bay Minette. I know this gentleman here, I don't know who he is, I got here a little late. You were talking about the response time for Baldwin County and the police department. They sit there and they fight over jurisdiction. We've called them numerous times. Spanish Fort fights about what's not our jurisdiction. Baldwin County fights what's not our jurisdiction. I'm in law enforcement myself, and I had to arrest somebody in my front yard for possession of methamphetamine because Baldwin County and Spanish Fort didn't want to respond. The fire department, not our jurisdiction. So that's garbage. The garbage services, we were switched over to the garbage service. 2 months in a row, our trash was not picked up. I finally called Waste Pro and said, I'm gonna come dump it on your front steps because I'm having to live with it out here. Okay, we'll come get it. They picked it up for about 2 weeks. Went back to about another 2 months not being picked up. Finally, Baldwin County started picking it back up again. Another gentleman was talking about wildlife and infrastructure. The last historic storm we had, I had $50,000 of flood damage. I was not in the city of Spanish Fort, or was told I was not, so I wasn't eligible for any kind of relief or through the city. Baldwin County wouldn't do anything because I was not in there, whatever. $50,000 that run off because there's natural springs all through there. You can't build on that property. There's natural springs. I guarantee you can dig a foot down and you're going to hit a spring. I can show you pictures of all that. But my question is, I think that the whole ulterior motive about Spanish Fort is selling the dream that they're going to get it to Spanish Fort school systems. It's not going to happen. That's the whole thing this is about. And anybody in here will tell you that's what it's about. It's about this promise of going to Spanish Fort school systems. It's not going to happen. But my experience of being annexed, I have received no city services, none. Like I said, I haven't seen one police officer from Spanish Fort. I take that back. One time, one did respond because my kids called 911 on our cell phone. But that was probably 30 minutes later. There's no way a police officer can get there faster than Baldwin County. When the city is 8 miles down from us, we don't see them. You don't see them past the bridge right there at the landing. You don't see Spanish Fort go anywhere. You can smile all you want. That's the truth. So that's my experience with being annexed in the city of Spanish Fort. It's been a nightmare. It really has. The city's not big enough for that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Kevin Henderson?
What's his address, just so we can look that up?
Push it one more time. It was already on. Okay, thank you.
Kevin Henderson, 8371 Dixon Road in Bay Minette. Concern, I was environmental control officer in the Army and dealing with the gopher tortoises throughout that property. But on the northern end, the mating bald and the pair of bald eagles, like what would the impact be on them? And like he was saying, the springs along White House Creek, the impact studies on that. That was my only concerns.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
All right, that's all I have signed up. Anybody else?
Can you hear me? How are y'all doing tonight? My name is Chase Villarreal, and I live on 9281 White House Fork Road. So I grew up in Mobile County, moved to Spanish Fort, built our first home in Spanish Fort, and didn't really care for it. And then we moved to Stonebridge and Spanish Fort, and I personally watched the nightmare of the D.R. Horton situation. I lived in Stonebridge, and D.R. Horton, I believe, put up, I don't know, what seemed like 5,000 houses within a span of 3 months. And to me personally, that was a complete nightmare to watch. So we moved to 9281 White House to live in the country, out in the woods, to find peace. And now we got word of this neighborhood being built, which is, to me, going to be another complete nightmare, because just going off of what other people said, the traffic down 225 is an absolute nightmare. Now you have to almost get up 2 hours early to get our daughter to school in Fairhope. So the traffic's going to be a nightmare. The wildlife situation, which is ironic to me, is how to clear out 400 acres for an animal sanctuary. And I'm wondering what happened to the natural wildlife in those 400 acres, not to mention the entirety of 1,600 acres for the whole community. What's going to happen to that wildlife? Because right now I can go out in the woods and watch plenty of deer, and I don't shoot or hunt or any of that, but that's my peace. So I'm completely against being annexed, and I understand how capitalism works, and I get it. It's his dream. But their dream has become a nightmare to most people that live in that area. So that's just my opinion on it, and I definitely don't want to be annexed, and I guess there's nothing really we can do to stop the actual development becoming. But that's just my piece on it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, that's all I have signed up. Once again, last call.
Troy Brown, 9580 Brown Road. The main thing I wanted to stay like we are now is now about half or more than that little white circle, square there. My grandfather owned all of that land. He doesn't anymore. He's passed away and it's been sold out. But I'll be 70 years old in a few days, and I was born and raised there, and I want to see it stay like it is, if that's possible. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, public hearing's closed. We'll open it up with the commission again. Dave, do you want to address a few of these? I think one in particular that got called out several times is other people's property being annexed into the city other than this particular piece of property. You want to address that, please?
Yes, sir. I'll try and annex as many of the, I'll try and answer as many of the questions as I can. First, there were some questions about if this occurs, what restrictions will be placed on, I think, neighboring properties. And so I want to make sure that we're clear about this. This is a pre-zoning request for a public hearing that's being held tonight. The Planning Commission will make a recommendation to the City Council. There'll be another public hearing at the City Council level, and the City Council then will ultimately determine whether or not the property is annexed. If it is annexed, then this will be, the PUD approval will be the zoning that's placed on the property. The only property that's being annexed is the property that's depicted on the screen that is owned by, I think it's Mag 7 Longleaf Development. There's 3 property owners. There's nobody else's property that's being annexed by this act. So there will be no restrictions on your property unless you otherwise request or at some point in time vote to come into the city. This is a landowner consent. The landowners of the property are asking that it be annexed in, so no, it will not impact, zoning will not be applied to anyone else's property unless they are annexed into the city by some other method, not this method. Next, there was a question about the landmark district and its application to this. The landmark district legislation was a constitutional amendment that was passed, and it prohibits annexation by municipalities by local law. Local law meaning local legislative acts by the legislature. It does not prohibit an individual landowner from requesting to be annexed into the city, which is what we have here. We have a landowner that wants to annex their property in. It's not annexing anyone else, either by act or referendum in that area. So again, there'll be two opportunities for public hearing tonight and at the city council meeting when that comes up. It is a voluntary annexation by this property owner that's requesting to come in. It's not bringing anybody else in at this point in time. If this property is annexed in, then as the mayor mentioned and as the question was asked, anyone that touches this area or would like to consider being annexed in the city, we will certainly talk to them and assist them if they would like to do that. As it relates to the concerns the gentleman had regarding failure to respond and garbage issues, I'm not aware of any of that. And I think that's something that we ought to look into, and I see the mayor nodding his head. If there's issues with police or sheriff response or garbage collection or any of those types of services, that's something that we want to make sure we address in that area. And so that's why I was wanting to make sure we got the gentleman's address. As it relates to school districts, we've made this perfectly clear at every step, and we'll make it clear here again tonight. There was a question made about, was there a difference between the corporate limits and city limits? And the answer to that question is no. Corporate limits and city limits are basically the same thing. It's just a different way of saying it. So if you're inside the corporate limits of the city, that means you're within the city limits of the city. But the school district boundary lines around the county do not align with the corporate limits of every municipality in the county. The school district boundary lines are based on population, and they roughly try to estimate populations in school zone districts based on the population in a given area. Spanish Fort School Districts continues to contract in some ways as this happens because of the population growth inside the city, but the corporate limit lines have never actually and always lined up perfectly with the school district lines. As Loxley continues to grow in the future, you're likely to see school district lines adjust again. That's done by the Baldwin County Board of Education based on population growth and not done by the city. I just want to make sure we're clear about that this annexation does not necessarily impact school zones by someone coming into the area. There was also a question about Stonebridge and the construction that was occurring there, and someone said that they weren't necessarily satisfied in Stonebridge and kind of blamed the city for that, but I want to make sure we're clear that Stonebridge is located in the town of Loxley. Because of postal regulations and zip codes, your address may say you're in the Spanish Fort corporate limits, but the east side of 31 is not in the corporate limits of the city. Stonebridge is inside the town of Loxley, and so that's not something that we would be responsible for as a city. I think I addressed most of the questions that I remember, but if there's something else I can assist with, please let me know.
All right, it's open for discussion.
I'll just throw one more quick thing up. I've been on the city council for 13 years, planning commission for, I don't know, let's call it 6, 7 years. And I worked for the school system, my day job, for the last 20 years. And I've never heard any discussion about Spanish Fort forming their own school system, city school system. Just to piggyback on that, I don't think I would advocate for that in any way. So just want to make sure that's not a misconception that's out there.
So regarding the traffic, which always comes up, there will be or will there not be traffic studies done at some point to address this concern?
The city engineer, Matthew Jones, is here. Usually, if a traffic study is required, it's required from ALDOT based on connection to state highways, or the county based on connection to county highways. That's usually done as a subdivision plat is submitted. depending on the density of that plat, how it's being developed. But you may want to ask, under the subdivision regulations, it also gives discretion to the traffic engineer to require that, but it's usually as the development begins processing and not normally at this level. But I'll let Matthew answer that.
As they come back, if this is approved, as they come back for the plat process, there will be a requirement for traffic studies to be performed.
All right, any other discussion?
I'll touch on a few things. I think there's a misconception about annexation. This is not about everyone else being annexed in the city. You don't have to come in the city. This is a private property right of an individual that wants to come into the city. That's what this is about. We all worry about our lifestyle and those things, and I do. We see the growth in Baldwin County. It's crazy, but it's coming. I know that may not be the popular thing to say, but growth is coming. It's already here. We've seen it for the last 20 years. So this development, we have an opportunity to bring it into the city and control it with city codes and regulations as opposed to the county, which we would be a little more stringent than the county. I mean, you won't be putting, well, you could put mobile homes, but it'd take leaps and boundaries and all kind of things to make that happen. I'm not quite sure that would ever do. But the city would add more controls and would be more restrictive than the county in what would be allowed up there. Spanish Fort schools, I've never heard, you know, we're very blessed, very fortunate that we have great schools in Spanish Fort. We really do. All of them are A-rated. But this area is not zoned for Spanish Fort schools. As Mr. Connor mentioned, school district lines do not follow city boundaries. They absolutely don't. Same way with fire district lines. They don't follow city boundaries. They're a separate entity all the way around. So this is a very good development. I see the numbers have been reduced from what they were originally done on that west side of that property, which is a good thing. The landmark district Mr. Connor spoke about, private property rights, they have the right to annex regardless of landmark districts or not. And I'm looking through all my notes here. You know, as far as drainage and those things, the city has more drainage restrictions that will help improve drainage up there in the long run. As it is now, it's running its natural course and it's going to flood, and it always does, and there's springs everywhere. We see it all over. But the city restrictions and codes and regulations will control that water better and help you up there. We're not forcing anyone to annex that I sort of heard about. Yeah, would I like to see everybody in the city in the Spanish Fort School District? Yes, but that's not our call. That's a school board call. As far as bald eagles and wildlife, listen, there's restrictions. If you got bald eagles, they won't be built around a bald eagle's nest, I can tell you that. The feds would come all over you real quick with that. And David, you spoke about the Stonebridge situation. You know, that growth down there has been crazy, but we had no control over that because, and I will correct, some of the east side of 31 is in the city, but that particular section is not. I know you do have a letter, Mr. Chairman, that you may want to read that came from a Christopher Seal. And when you do that, I'd like to respond to that.
David, you want to read that letter, or Casey, if y'all have a copy of it?
I'll be glad to read it. This is from Christopher Seal. This is an email to Casey Raines dated October 13, 2025. Annex concerns near White House Fork is the reference line. It says, I live across the road from the proposed area on Johnson Cemetery Road along Highway 40. We do not want any more people in our area. The infrastructure can't handle it. On County Road 40, the traffic has picked up tremendously, and so has the rate of speed these people drive in this area. I know y'all don't care as long as you get your money. The people on the committees throughout Baldwin County should be investigated for all the housing coming into our community. You elected people have sold our communities out for a quick buck. I'm sure someone is getting a kickback for all the growth. Not to mention the wildlife in this area have limited room for their existence, and we're starting to have a recurrence of coyotes and other wild wild coming into our yards. Chris.
Thank you, David. Mayor, did you say you wanted to respond?
Yeah, that's a very offensive letter. There's certainly no kickbacks coming on. We're certainly not getting money, and we're not getting a quick buck. So let's be realistic about what's happening here. This is not about dollars and cents. This is about managed growth within the city.
All right, any other discussion?
Just what I, just summarize this development's coming, whether we annex it or not, and it seems like to me there's fewer doorknobs would be built if it's a city development as opposed to county, that they've reduced the number, which means less impact on traffic, for sure, less impact on other utilities and so forth. And we'd also have more control as this moves forward, over 10, 15 years. Each phase of it, they have to submit site plans and so forth and adhere to our rules rather than what the county would require, which is usually more forgiving and less strict. So I think I'm comfortable with everything I've heard.
All right, anybody else? All right, discussion is closed. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion for the first time in my planning commission history, seeing that this is my last planning commission meeting. I'd like to recommend to the council that we approve agenda item 251001, application for zoning change for the White House Forks development, Long Pine, excuse me.
I second.
Any discussion on the motion? All right, roll call. Dana, please.
Gant. Yes. Vaughn.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Lazenby. Yes. Mayor McMillan.
Yes.
All right, motion's approved. All right, we now come to our public participation part of our meeting. Anybody here wish to speak? All right, public participation is closed. We have a few announcements. The next regular meeting of the Planning Commission will be held Monday, November 10th. A work session will begin at 6 p.m. in the multipurpose room of the Spanish Fork Community Center, followed by the regular meeting at 6:30 p.m. The next informal work session of the Planning Commission will be held Monday, October 27th at 6 p.m. The submission deadline for the November regular meeting agenda is Tuesday, October 14th at 12 noon. Do I have a motion to adjourn? All right, meeting's adjourned.
I'm sorry. I'm Teresa Grunman. I came because I live in White House Fork, but I also work at WKRG. Is there any way I could get a copy of the names and addresses of the people that asked to speak?
Can I find out for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
Because I would have to get copies.
They have an extra packet too that's got the map and everything. If not, I'll try and get with the people.
Okay, give me just a second.